Welcome to the Artie Lange Show. My first guest is rock and roll royalty, a rock and roll legend, legitimate. From the Animals, a group that started in 1962, 51 years ago. And another great group called War. Written some classic rock and roll songs. He's going to sing some of them for us tonight, but he agreed to do an interview first, and I admire that. Eric Burdon, thank you, buddy.
Good evening.
It's good. It's good to have you here, man.
Good to meet you, Artie.
Now, let me ask you something. When you hear your music, it's so ahead of its time. Like, we got to get out of this place. You how much did you hate your hometown? like it makes it sound like, I mean, or is it just like a rebellious kid thing where like we got to get out of here? I want to get the hell out of town and see the world or rebel against the generation before. It really is a classic rebel tune when you think about it.
Well, first it was my hometown.
Right.
Then it was London.
Yeah.
Then it was New York. Then it was L.A. And I was like, where do we go next?
Yeah, you left that no places.
Yeah, Seattle. Let's go to Seattle and murder somebody. And, you know.
That's always an option. Is that what it was? You just couldn't deal with you just wanted to get the hell out. You've always wanted to go.
Well, I was an asthmatic from being a child, and the weather in my hometown is awesome. It's really bad.
Right.
And when I got to travel the world and I landed on the West Coast in America, I went, man, I can breathe.
Yeah.
This is where my body wants to be.
Right.
So that's the reason real reason for.
So then you stayed in San Francisco for quite a while.
No, I visited San Francisco.
Oh, really? You didn't live, like, 1969?
No,
I thought you were living there, like, making music.
I was.
Like, in that crazy, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't quite around yet, but that must have been an incredible time.
On weekends.
San Francisco. Yeah. Well, what, can you describe that? I mean, hanging out, like, on the Haight in 1969 in San Francisco with Janis Joplin and the Dead and the incredible music scene. What was that like?
It was great. I mean, I wanted to be a part of it, but again, the weather. I mean, San Francisco was like a Hollywood version of London in the fog with Jack the Ripper lurking around every corner. It has its attractions, but I wouldn't.
But it was too cold?
Couldn't live there.
It was cold like home, right?
Wet and damp with the cold makes the cold like another 20 degrees colder.
So weather is the biggest inspiration for your music. I mean, I mean, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
So now, what about L.A.? Did you like L.A.?
I did initially, and then it got to be foggy too. You know, the fog followed me everywhere.
Where do you live now?
I live in Mid-Coast, California,
like Santa Barbara type.
Just south of Santa Barbara, just north of L.A.
That's as beautiful as weather gets. I mean,
that's nice.
In this country.
It's nice. It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a place to go relax.
I love it.
Now, do you think that if you didn't have that edge, though, when you were younger, if you didn't have that angst of being in, like if you grew up in Santa Barbara, do you think you'd have these songs that you wrote? No. Well, what would you write about, right? Exactly.
No. I have no idea. I couldn't conceive of growing up in Santa Barbara.
A lot of people do, though.
I mean, I have friends of mine that the kids think that they're going to live there like their parents. It's like, no, you're out of here, kid. You're going to the real world, and then maybe we'll let you back in. If
that's what they should do, because, I mean, in the real world, you don't know what... Yeah, you see kids who grow up in Malibu and stuff, they don't know what it's like to parallel park in snow 4 months.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I traveled from day one. I ran off to Paris when I was 15, as soon as I got a passport.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow.
And I realized that my Parisian experience was my New York experience.
Right.
Because there's great similarity.
It's the same type of city, yeah.
Yeah. And, it was like, I was right. When I got here, it felt a bit like Paris. And also, Paris was flooded with American expats blues players, jazzmen, who probably had done something wrong, couldn't get their cabaret card reinstated, you know.
That happened a lot.
Yeah.
Now, how do you start the Animals? Like, when you're a kid, how does the Animals begin? How do you get involved with them?
We had a whole, excuse me, a whole slew of bands that started out as the Pagans, then the Kansas City 5, 6, 7, depending on how many guys were in the band. We had a couple of Africans in a couple of the bands, and that helped give us an air of like the erotic, exotic.
Right.
And then I went to art school.
Okay.
And that's when it really started again. but you know, we had a common room which we were allowed to stay in during the midday break, and we managed to turn that into a nightclub from like 12 to 3 a.m. You know, blacked out all the windows and brought in our own record player.
Where were you for
In my
art
hometown.
school? Okay.
In my hometown, yeah. But as soon as I became an art student, that was a license to get into trouble.
Probably banged a lot of broads back then.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Now, so now the animals you just met at art school, or guys around there, or how did it develop?
We had our beginnings there. I mean, there was a band that was known as the college band, and then we became the college band. And then the next generation, when I left art school, the next generation became Brian Ferry.
Right.
And then the next generation of that became Sting. And then up in that area where the college was, there's a band came out of there called Dire Straits.
Wow. Yeah. Same area.
So same area. So there was, I mean, you know, putting it in the Dire Strait, fanatical area. Oh, fuck, I'm lost. I can just imagine one of those kids walking down Main Street in 1958 and seeing a Fender guitar in the window and thinking, wow, that's where I want to go. Yeah. But with me, it was the voice of Muddy Waters.
Right.
I was coming home from...
How do you expose to American blues? Like you said, Kansas City's the name of the groups. Like the American blues, like really took you guys. I mean, everyone from you to Mick Jagger. How did it get over there? Like, how'd you discover that?
Well, there was, like I say, a lot of expats heading over to Europe. Also, there was one or two very clever promoters who would realize that if Muddy Waters, Sonny Terry, Ron McGee, blah, blah, they were coming to Paris to play, on their way back home, they'd have to catch a plane and fly over London on the way back to New York. So stop that plane, you know. Yeah. Guys, stay in London for a while, and we can, and then they'd come up to my hometown. And
who'd you see live? Did you see Muddy Waters live in your hometown?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that must have been...
First time he came because he was part of the blues gospel tour in Germany.
Right.
He came to my hometown. He was what was left of that. They all went home. He's playing acoustic guitar. And everybody's like, it's great, but we can't hear you. The next time he comes over with an electric guitar, and everybody's complaining that it's too loud. He's like, I don't know what you guys want. But I didn't mind whether he was playing acoustic or electric. It was like...
When you saw that was it. I got to do this. I got to get a guitar. I got to write songs.
He's what I want to be.
Yeah.
That's where I want to go.
Yeah, it's amazing. You guys all have the same story. Keith Richards, Mick Jagger, Townsend.
Exactly.
You're all like got so influenced by the blues in America.
Yeah.
Muddy Waters, and the Chuck Berry comes in with rock and roll and stuff like that. And you, the talented ones, you're able to get groups and write songs and go on and live that life.
The great thing is that at the age of like 23, I toured on a bus with Chuck Berry at the front and Jerry Lee at the back.
Wow.
On the same bus. Tommy Tucker, put on your red dress.
What year was that?
64.
Wow.
And House the Rising Sun came about because we needed a song that would not get in the way of Chuck Berry. You know, we didn't want to copy Chuck.
Okay.
But we wanted to come up with something that the audiences would remember.
Wow.
So I heard this song, House the Rising Sun. I heard by Bob Dylan and lots of other artists. And I thought, if we do this electrically, it's going to work. And it did.
A lot of people are like, Dylan wrote House of Rising Sun.
No, Dylan researched it.
He did.
Brushed it up and polished it. And and put more lyrics in it that I never knew existed.
Right.
But I mean, that song was like, it was sung in every folk house from here to Tokyo.
So it's got kind of a blurry history, actually.
It's got an incredible history.
Right.
I mean, there's even books being written on it and all that kind of stuff.
But you guys made it famous. You guys made it your own. I mean,
Simply because we went electric and I changed "Been in the ruin of many a poor boy" from "girl."
okay.
Okay, little changes like that.
Right.
And then the organ solo that Alan Price played, we'd seen the movie Walk on the Wild Side with and Jimmy Smith's incredible soundtrack thing, and we took that and put that in the middle of House of the Rising Sun.
Wow. Okay. So then, and because you didn't want to mess with Chuck Berry's music on stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worked
You
out
don't mess
nicely.
with
You
Chuck.
know about Jerry. What was he like when you met him? When you meet these guys and tour with them? Him and Jerry Lee Lewis. They're notorious guys that had a lot of anger in them, and people have stories where they're kind of hard to get along with. Did you get along with those guys?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because I was no threat to anybody. I didn't play guitar.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't any threat to anybody. But I mean, to sum up what it was like with those guys, one night we're all getting on the bus, on the tour bus, and Jerry Lee's getting on, and he's heading for his usual stretch-out seat in the back of the bus, and our road manager, Peter Grant, who was a big wrestler, puts his hand in the door and he says, "Chuck," he says, "you're in the front seat of the bus tonight," and Chuck's in the back because your record just slid down the charts and Chuck's overtook yours. So, he's got the prime seat. Well, when Chuck came to get on the bus was full, and Chuck came and he had his guitar in his hand and he had a rag tied around his head and everything. And there was a refrain from the front end of the bus. I won't say who it came from, but it was like, "Yeah, get to the back of the bus where you belong, boy."
Really?
And all of a sudden, there was like a Colt 45 being waved around.
Oh my God.
It's like, wow, this is America.
Yeah. There you go. That's Jerry Lee's crowd mixing with Chuck Berry's crowd. That's funny, man. Well, that's legendary stuff. We got to take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk to Eric Burdon a little bit more on the Artie Lange Show.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.